What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little different. I don't normally do these benchtop videos, and so I thought I'd give it a shot, and you tell me if this is something that you want to do. So here's what we're going to do. We've got all these parts. We've shown you videos where we've wound pickups before, right? So we've got this here Tele set of pickups, and we've also got all this hardware for the Tele controls. Now this is a product that we sell on our website, and so I thought let's just show you for a couple of reasons. One, I like you to know how things go together so that when you install them in your guitar, you kind of know what's there, number one. And number two, you can buy all these parts separately from me or someone else, and you can put them together. And so it kind of gives you an idea how things go together, and I'll give you a couple of tips. And then the other thing is, I'll show you a couple of different ways that these wiring kits come from us, if it's something that you're interested in. Again, you don't have to buy anything from me if you don't want. You can get it everywhere else, but at least this gives you an idea how Tele wiring goes together for your guitar. So let's jump straight into it. Basically, the elements of your guitar pickup for a Telecaster, let's start with the neck, is going to be the coil that's already been wound. And if you'll see here, we've just put the wire through the eyelets there. And then the next thing we're going to do is I usually do this actually right when I wind it, but oh no, I don't. I do it when I assemble. So we'll go ahead and fill the eyelets. Now there's a couple ways you could do this. You could stick the wire through there and then solder it if you want. But when you're doing it in higher volume like we do, we do dozens of these at a time, I do that, and then that gives me an opportunity then to go ahead and check to make sure that the pickup is good before we even move ahead. So then what I do is I flip it over, and we take our black wire and our white wire, and the black wire I pull through a little bit more. I'll show you why in a minute. Of course, these are wound reverse polarity, because that's how we roll. So we stick the negative through so it sticks through just a little bit, and then the positive one, I just make it stick through just a little bit. I learned this from I was working with somebody from the Fender Custom Shop. They were showing me some tips that Abigail Ibarra does, and that's how she does hers. So then what we do is throw this through here, like so. Boom. So we have that relatively assembled. That's how we're going to leave that. Now I've already soldered this way, so we're going to go ahead and do the same thing here. You'll pull the negative one through just a little bit. Of course, this is going to be on the other side. Boom, like so. We'll throw the negative one, or the positive one, through the other side. Alright. And we'll throw that guy through there like so. And I usually like to give these a little bit of a twist just to keep them from being tough to wrangle. Alright, so we've got completed pickups. Now we're going to go ahead and go magnetize them. Once they're magnetized, then we're going to take our flat pliers, and I like to bend these tabs just correctly, like so. Yeah, like that. Boom. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our, zoom in a little bit more, we're going to take our negative lead there, we're going to solder him to the base, the cover. Now if you're doing a 4-way situation, you would solder a 3rd wire to this, but in a 3-way situation, this is what you do. Give that a minute to make sure we're good. Yep, and we'll go ahead and clip the excess off of there. And there we have a Telecaster neck pickup that needs to be wax potted and then engraved with our logo. And then on this side of things, what I like to do is take a piece of tape, 1/4 inch tape, and put it on the bottom. Insulate the magnets. Alright, and then the next thing we do is take our base plate. We chuck him on top of there. Line up the holes so that when you screw this into your guitar, everything's nice and lined up. Now our ground is going to go here. This is probably the most difficult part. Especially if you have a cheap soldering iron. A 40-watt Weller will do this. I'll leave a link in the description for a soldering iron that works properly for this. But your normal little Radio Shack 15-watter probably won't get this done. So we're just gonna sit here until this is hot, and it's gonna take a minute because we're heating up this entire brass base plate, or I apologize, copper plated steel base plate. Okay, so I don't know how long that took. I'll put on, I time-lapsed it so you didn't have to sit there the whole time, but I'll put on the screen the amount of time that took to do that, just to get, so it gives you an idea. Okay, and so now we have a completed bridge pickup for a Telecaster. So we have the pickups done. The wax is heating for the wax potting, so we will wax pot these pickups, and then they will basically be complete. I'll engrave my logo on them. So let's go ahead and move to setting up the wiring for a Telecaster. Okay, so Telecaster wiring comes a couple different ways, obviously, from a lot of different vendors. To zoom you back out so we can see all these parts. So we've got our CTS pots, we've got an Oak Grigsby switch here, we've got our knobs, we use pure tone jacks here, Sprague orange drop cap, and the little retainers for the knobs, and then of course, you know, a good quality control plate. So you can buy all the loose parts anywhere. You can go on Amazon and get them or whatever. You can also get a pre-wired kit with no plate from us, where we assemble it on the plate, then we take it back off. So I have an assembly plate that I use for that. But for this customer, we're actually going to make the entire thing. So I am a bit of a stickler. So we'll put the knobs on first. I am a bit of a stickler about double nutting for the correct height of the knob. That drives me nuts when they're not done correctly. So I like that to be perfect, like so. Make sure that's nice and straight on there. Like I said, you do this enough times and you get to be a little particular about it. Those of you that use my wiring kits, you know we try to be pretty precise about this stuff. Too far. Perfect. Okay, and then the three-way switch. So what I have is I just have a piece of wood. Chris at Texas Toast made this for me. I just have a piece of wood with a groove cut in it, and I use it for a bunch of different stuff. I use it for assembling humbuckers because it allows the screws to go through the bobbin. So like if I'm gonna assemble this humbucker bobbin, you see the screw can go through. But also it works awesome for assembling Telecaster plates because now the switch and the pots can go in the groove like so. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and wire this up. Let's just get you zoomed in here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the capacitor on. I'll show you why I do this in the order that I do. So the capacitor goes through there like so. And we're going to go ahead and solder this leg like that. We're going to bend this guy around like this. Now a couple pointers here when you're doing this for yourself. Make sure that the capacitor is all the way on top of the pot. You don't want it sticking off the side of the pot because it'll hit the guitar when you put it in. So then we cut these off and I keep them. So this one's going to go from here to here. This is just conservation of wire. That's all this is. For all you eagle-eye viewers who want to jump in the comments about solder smoke safety, I do have an exhaust fan. I just don't use it during videos because it's kind of loud. So that's why you're not hearing an exhaust fan at the moment. Now, Telecaster wiring has this funny jumper to go from, so what you may not know about these switches is there's actually two separate switches. They're not connected on both sides. So to connect them on both sides, the Telecaster has this funky wire, and I use the other capacitor leg that I just cut off to make that jumper. So I just kind of bend that in there like so. You can use like regular wire, but I like using the capacitor leg because it stays where you want it. You'll end up having to solder like one little terminal at a time with a wire and then bend it over and then bend it over. So I actually like to use this. Hit this right here. You gotta be real careful, don't use too much solder, because what you don't want to have happen is the solder to drip down into these holes and then render your switch useless. Just trim that little excess off, make sure all that's all nice and clean. And then we're going to take a piece of white wire, I guess. Although it doesn't really matter. And we're going to go from the switch, route this nice and neat down to here. Because I'm left-handed, I flip this around. But if you're right-handed, you might just leave it that way. There we go. Boom, boom. Here is our about that long. You want to go long enough, but not too long for your output jacks, because you don't want to have to slam them in there, like stuff them inside the guitar. Let me grab some black wire really quick. Alright, so our volume, I keep hitting the camera. So I have a camera clamped to the table, and so it probably moves a little bit. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to figure this overhead thing out. Okay, so your volume knob is bent over like so. Stick that bad boy through there like so. And then I pull this back just a little bit, solder the eyelet, that way everything's connected nice and reliably. Excellent. Now, one of the things you will not see me do, let's talk about this right now, because there's going to be somebody jumps in the comments on every soldering video. You need to make a mechanical connection. You need to push that wire in and then like bend it over, blah, blah, blah. Okay. No. If you solder it properly, I can pull on that wire and it'll ruin that pot before that wire breaks off of there. If I put the wire all the way through and bend it over, it makes the thing almost unserviceable in the future. It is absolutely a pain in the butt. For example, we're about to do the output jack, okay? I'll show you a trick with the output jack. So if you take a screwdriver and push it through the output jack and then lay it there, it won't roll around on you. And so what I was saying about the mechanical bond earlier was when I put this in here like so and I just stick it in, right? And then I go ahead and I solder this. This is going to be plenty strong. If I put it in there and bend it over and put a hook on the end of it, then you will be so frustrated the next time you have to service this. Like in the future, like let's say you accidentally stomp on you know, this cable, this won't go bad for years and years and years. These are really reliable jacks, but as are switchcrafts. But at some point in the future, you know, let's say you stomp on your cable and you rip it out of your guitar or whatever, and it screws up your output jack, and you're at a show and you need to replace this thing, and you go in here and all of a sudden this thing's all hooked around because the moron that built it hooked it all around because the internet told him to. You're gonna hate yourself. And there's no, I mean, this is not coming out of here, right? It's not gonna break. So just don't listen to people. You don't have time for that kind of negativity in your life. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, because this is a full dress situation, put our switch tip on. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of tips here. If you are a person who has these slotted knobs, so we sell these slotted knobs because, or pots, because a lot of people use a lot of different stuff and it makes it more, makes it easier. So if you're going to put a screw style pot or knob on your pot, what you want to do is make sure that when you put the knob on, the screw splits the difference right here. If you put it crossways like this, then this will smash. Okay? So make sure that the screw splits into the middle of this, and it'll actually kind of like spread it out and hold the knob on, if that makes sense. When we build these from scratch, we have these copper sleeves, but I still do the same thing. See, I want that sleeve to push in there so that it grips really well and so that it doesn't ruin the pot. So we'll slide that down, and then I will slide it up just a little bit to get the height right. And then we'll slide this down. Pull that down, pull it back up just a little bit to get the height right. And see, so now that retaining screw is going in the center of that. Like, remember how that was kind of diagonally across there? That way, what happens is, if you don't do that, two things. The knob will be sideways, kind of like cocked to the side. And then the other thing is that you can ruin a pot. So, there you go. So there is the Telecaster wiring, and there is your pair of Telecaster pickups. We'll go ahead and wax pot those pickups. We'll engrave our name on them. We'll throw them in the box, and they will go out to the customer today. So from us, you can get these a couple different ways. Sometimes what we'll do is I have just a bogus plate over there that I build everything on, then I pull it back off and then just sell you just the wiring, but then it drops straight into a Telecaster plate because we've kind of templated it. We also sell all the loose parts, and we sell these complete things as well. You can get them in reverse, you can get them in We can do reverse, we can do four-way. We have a bunch of custom, you know, plates that are, you know, engraved with different stuff. We can do all kind of fun stuff. So anyway, if you like this kind of benchtop video, let me know in the comments. I'll leave links to everything in the description. I'll also leave links to the soldering iron, to the solder, all that stuff, if this is something that you want to try to do yourself, because I encourage it. Even though we make pickups and parts here, I still encourage you to try this stuff on your own as well. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next video.